The other thing that Bloomberg does quite a bit, and it's quite fascinating to see how he just continues to do these things with impunity because he's Michael Bloomberg. I mean, he goes around and makes sure that he gets the recognition when his philanthropies launch a new initiative. He, of course, lauds his titles. We cringe when Donald Trump does it, but Michael Bloomberg, of course, will tell you that he's a WHO ambassador, he's a climate ambassador. I understand that he couldn't be president. He didn't get through the primaries, and so he needs some sense of legitimacy on the world stage, and so he's buying it. But he also does things which is quite mischievous and not at all transparent or ethical by certain standards of the game. But in foundations, they have another standard because if you're giving money to save the world, then Machiavelli is usually your chief operating officer. Sorry, but he creates groups that have names. They function like NGOs, but they don't exist. I first discovered this with the group that Bloomberg funded called Beyond Plastics. When you start noticing that their email addresses are all Bennington College. Bennington College is a small liberal arts college under I think it's 780 students registered. But out of Bennington, he operates Beyond Plastics, gives them tens of millions every year. And of course, the small college receives the funds. Beyond Plastics doesn't exist. It doesn't have to file a IRS 990 form. It doesn't exist in any registered legal way. It operates out of this small university, and Bloomberg's donations go to this small university. Well, he's done that also with Beyond Petroleum, and we see this as a rather clever technique now to use fiscal sponsors like the New Venture Fund, and Bloomberg works a lot with them. In particular, we have in the tobacco harm reduction field the Tobacco Control Research Group, which has a name. People go to conferences. They were one of the accepted organizations at the COP11 in Geneva on the Framework Convention on Tobacco Control. Little problem, the Tobacco Control Research Group does not exist as an entity. So as strict as the COP11 procedures are for who can and cannot attend, if Michael Bloomberg says this group exists, they exist. Essentially, Bloomberg gives the money to the University of Bath, and University of Bath pays their researchers directly there. And but when they act outside, they act as representatives of some type of legitimate organization. They aren't. Why is this a little bit disingenuous? Well, because if we ever wanted to know how much money was being funded into these groups, if we wanted to know if there are any conflicts of interest, all we know is these are researchers at the University of Bath. We don't know anything else.